kicking the kickstand up and rolling the throttle on my first ride back after a 5-month break off my motorcycle proved that a forced pit stop doesn't kill your passion. It just makes the open road feel that much sweeter. Welcome back to Full Time Freedom, the podcast where ambition meets adventure for freedom focused women who want to live life full throttle. I'm your host and motorcycle coach, Melissa Hussong, and in today's episode, I'm sharing the story of my first time back in the saddle after a 5-month break due to a wrist injury and how it felt so freeing and so amazing to be back in control of my life. My intention with this episode is to entertain through storytelling, give you a break from your day to day, and to share some wisdom that I learned in the process to give you more freedom in your life. Sound good? Okay, kickstands up, let's go. So what's the story? Well, let me start with 5 months. It felt like an eternity. That is how long it had been since I'd ridden my motorcycle since I injured my right hand wrist. It was basically a wet noodle. And you'll remember this because I've talked about it a little bit on the podcast, but it was one poorly executed punch in boxing class. And suddenly my right wrist was so floppy and so painful, I couldn't even maneuver it backwards. I couldn't I just couldn't move it back past neutral. It was straight. It was like in that neutral position, which honestly really felt like a metaphor and symbolic of where I was in my life at that time. Couldn't get out of neutral. So after a lot of stubbornness and delay, I did end up going to see a specialist. I got a custom made wrist splint that I wore 24/7 for many, many weeks, and weeks of very slow, like millimeter, literally by millimeter improvements in the degrees that my wrist could move backwards, that it finally healed. And then this past weekend, my first ride in 5 months. And it started out like any other Saturday. I'm chilling, I'm having a yummy sleep in. My husband's up with the kids. I'm sleeping until 9. Never happens, not once since having children. Has that ever happened? We're having a really awesome breakfast, just like easing into the weekend. And then my phone buzzes. A text from my friend. She's like, "Hey, what's up? You up to anything today? Do you want to go for a ride?" I read this and I'm just like full body, immediate excitement, like hell yes, body feeling. If you've ever felt that, you know, you know. And I was just really excited, like head to toe, let's go, so happy. And looking back, I'm really glad that I didn't overthink this moment because we can all do that, right? You can go, back then I could have said, "Oh, but what about my wrist?" I could have said, "Oh, I'm too busy packing. We're moving house soon." I could have given literally 100 reasons not to go and fulfill this joy. We always give ourselves 100 bullshit reasons why we're not allowed to experience like this pure joy just for the sake of it, for, nothing that is like really going to accomplish anything, but like that's really where the fun is, because you do it because it's just fun, not because it's has an outcome. So instead, I looked at my phone and I texted back, "Fuck yeah, let's go. We made the arrangements. We're getting ready." But having said that, to remind you, I hadn't ridden my bike in a long time. So it had been almost half a year. So I had to scramble, and I'm super glad and grateful that I thought about this ahead of time and I checked on my bike a couple hours early just to be like, all right, let's get these wheels in motion. What do we need to do as far as motorcycle maintenance that we haven't done in a very long time? So I'm checking the tire pressure. I'm getting that cute little gauge out. I'm untwisting those little tire valve caps that disappear and get just go into oblivion. So I'm putting them in my pocket. I'm like, I'm not losing you today. I'm not riding over you today. I'm putting you in my pocket. I'm checking the air pressure. I'm like, no, it's like depressurized quite a bit. Let me get I'm getting the compressor. I'm inflating my tires. I'm turning my bike on, realizing the battery is flat. So I'm connecting the battery charger. I'm charging my battery. I'm hunting down my gear. Where the fuck is my helmet? It's in the back of my closet. We're packing to move house. So everything is a little jumbled. Grab out my helmet. Oh, I haven't cleaned it in a while. Let me quick clean it. Wiping the bugs off my helmet. And then I'm okay, got my gear, looking good. Let's get ready to roll. Getting back on my bike, turning on the ignition, starts up beautiful. I am completely out of gas. Like full empty tank, mission critical. I'm not going to make it to our destination. Completely empty tank. Just when my freedom is this close, like I could almost taste it. I'm geared up. The garage is open. I've warmed up my bike. Like I'm ready to roll. My friend's going to be here in 10 minutes. And I'm like, all right, out of gas. Classic. But this is really an important note to self, and I'm speaking directly to myself, future self here. Please always fill up your gas before you need it. And that's just another metaphor for life. Don't wait until you're on empty, because inevitably something's going to happen and you're going to want to move and you're going to want to like do something and get excited and live life, and then your gas tank is going to be empty and the little light's going to be blinking and it's going to suck. Future self, please always fill up your tank before you need it. Because it's the worst. You want to just roll the throttle and take off, but you can't because your tank is empty. Ba-boom. My friend pulls up. She's looking like absolute superwoman in all her riding gear. And I'm stoked. I'm like, let's go. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm out of gas. Like the worst faux pas. I feel like that is just when someone shows up to your house ready to ride and you're like, I'm so sorry. Our first 10 minutes has to be me getting gas. It's like a total not a cool move. So we get gas. I'm filling up. Yep. We hit the road. And from that very first roll of the throttle, a huge hit of adrenaline just like hits my veins. And I'm like, woo, we're back, baby. Just feels so good. But I want to say my street has a roundabout. So the gas station's very close, but there's a roundabout like maybe 100 meters to my house, towards my house. So like I'm pulling out, I'm rolling the throttle only to go into second gear for like 10 meters. And then I'm downshifting again because I'm stopping at the roundabout. There was traffic in the roundabout. I couldn't cruise right through it, which was rude. But so my grand return to riding like wasn't dramatic, like opening the throttle on a highway, 0 to 60 in a few seconds. It was basically I'm shifting up to second gear for half a second and then I'm immediately shifting down again. So a little bit of an anticlimax, but it felt really good. I was so excited, like even just rolling on the throttle, like all that fear of, oh no, what about my wrist? You know, all those 5 months of waiting and wondering if I'm going to be able to ride again just dissolved. And I remember my very first thought was like, what the fuck was I so scared of? I can still ride. It was very freeing in that moment to be like, no, Mal, we got this. Those 5 months were a little bit out of proportion. You probably could have started riding before you thought. So we're going on a ride, we're cutting through back roads. I have this really fun route that I just devised one day that we've gone on this ride before. So we're cutting through farmland, over down to this cute little spot for lunch. The weather was gorgeous. It was so it's winter at the moment in Australia, but it was really the perfect balance of like when you're in the sun, you're like, ooh, I'm a bit warm, like I could drop a layer. but then you're cruising through like some trees, a tree canopy, and you're in the shade for a bit, and then you kind of go, ooh, that's a bit chilly. It was that mixture. So you're very much in, your body is like very much in tune with the weather, which I like, when you kind of like, you feel those immediate temperature changes. And then you catch like a little bit of a breeze and you're like, ooh, yep, that's trash. That's a pile of trash on the side of the road. I know what that smells like. And you're like, yep, I am back in the saddle. But that's what I really love about riding. I really like that you are part of the landscape. You're not just watching the world go by through a windshield, like of a vehicle, a car or a truck or whatever. You're really in the landscape. You smell the smells, you feel the feels. You literally, like, you're physically responding to the wind because you're getting blown around. You're correcting, you're kind of compensating for those changes with your riding. And the temperature changes are really fun. The smells, you also smell really good things. You smell like flowers and stuff, and the trees and the freshly cut grass. So all of that is kind of rolling through you, and it's like a full sensory experience when you're riding. And that day, that ride, it felt so natural. It felt so right. It was easy. I think I was thinking that I was going to really suck at it. I would be really rusty, knocking off the rust off my wrist. But it wasn't like that at all. It was ridiculously fun. And do you want to know something crazy about this whole ride, this whole experience? I had built this first ride up as a massive, terrifying hurdle, obstacle that I had to overcome. I thought my injury was really going to fuck me up. I thought it was really going to keep me sidelined for like even longer than it did. Kind of in my depressive episode that I've also talked about on the podcast, I was like, during that time, I was like, am I ever going to ride again? I might not ride again, blah, blah, kind of going down that spiral, which wasn't good. But the truth is, and this is what I learned, that riding a motorcycle, literally, it's just like riding a bike. You don't forget, you don't lose anything. And even though, I was out of action for what I thought to be like a really long time, I didn't it didn't change anything about what I loved doing, like that sport, that activity, that love, that freedom of the open road. It was just, I think it made it better that I had that break. And it wasn't, I realized like that this thing that I was thinking was a setback, like a hard stop or like a stop sign, it was just setting me up for this new chapter with this new renewed energy for something that I love, that I'm now able to bring like the experience of having felt sidelined and having felt like, what if I have to give this thing up that I love? Like now I carry that with me in my writing, and I appreciate it more because I wasn't able to do it for so long. And I also have a deep appreciation for my body and my wrist and all these tiny little micro muscles and bones and ligaments that help us live our lives that we don't even realize. I carry all of that gratitude with me when I ride now. And these forced breaks that we have to do if, something in your life comes up, or, you have to take a break from something you love, you don't lose that progress. And you definitely don't lose the passion. If anything, it really multiplies and amplifies, magnifies that joy when you finally get back into the saddle, because I know that's what happened to me. And I know that that is the truth of it. We get to our spot, we're having a yummy lunch, we're talking life, we're talking health, we're just like loving life. And side note about this, there is something else when you like rock up to a spot in like head to toe motorcycle gear. It just hits different when you're like, oh yeah, like I'm at a fancy lunch spot. Yeah, I'm rocking my shit kickers. I got my riding jacket on, my riding pants, all my armor, and you got like a helmet under your arm. I don't know. It's just like the most badass feeling. So we rock up to this spot, and Otherwise we're just like two girls out for lunch having a catch up, but we just happen to be head to toe moto gear and like, what of it? What about it? It's not that interesting. We're just hanging out, catching up, living life, and we happen to ride, and it's really fun. We're having a yummy lunch. We're riding home. We take the short way home. We're just cruising the highway home, which I also love cruising a highway. I love going fast. I love opening the throttle and going at a fast speed in a straight line. I think a lot of people underestimate how fun that is because everyone likes the curvy roads, but I really love going fast on a highway. I think that's like my Midwestern roots. Love going fast on an interstate. Like, can't beat it for me. Just obsessed. So we're cruising on the highway. We're riding back. I'm waving bye to her. I'm taking my exit. She's taking the highway. Keep going. And at this point, my ride's over. I'm cruising home. That ride that day is over, but I know for me that it was just the beginning. Okay, shifting gears now. Next stop, I want to talk about what's giving me freedom this week. This segment we've been doing for a little while now, and we're talking about let's bring more freedom into our life in all the ways that we can think of and just be more of who we want to be, live how we want to live, express how we want to express. And the things that I'm bringing up this week that are really just giving me freedom, this is a big one, okay? I'm officially braless again. I can officially sleep on my stomach for the first time in about 2 years. And this is because I'm weaning my youngest son. I've been breastfeeding him, but I'm weaning pretty good, almost to the point of he's not really wanting to latch anymore, which is fine. The time is nigh. So my boobs have gone down and almost like around to like pre-child level, maybe a little less, which I'm totally fine with because change equals growth and I'm all about that. So these days I'm wearing like a little what you call it, like a crop top thing, singlet thing. It's not a bra. It's like a little tank top thing. Because it's winter and it's a little chilly. And also it keeps the nips in because after you've breastfed 2 children, like the nips are here. They want to say hi to everyone. So we're keeping the nips in. But for the record, I do want to say I fully 100% support girls who live nips out. I think it's very cool. I think it's very Kate Moss. And let's do it if that's what gives you freedom. But I want to say these braless vibes are giving me freedom because I can sleep on my stomach. I love sleeping on my stomach. Very hard to adjust to not sleeping on your stomach when you get pregnant and then when you're postpartum and then your boobs are massive rocks and you just can't, you like physically cannot do it because it's too painful. And it's given me freedom to sleep how I want. It's given me freedom from like the underwire. I'm talking like the straps that hurt. I'm talking about all day discomfort is not in my life anymore. And for that, I'm so grateful. And being braless has given me freedom. The next thing that is giving me freedom lately, I just had a thought a couple days ago. And bear with me because it's like half-baked thought. I just popped into my consciousness and I'm still working through it. But lately, what has given me freedom is I am thinking in terms of dynasties at the moment instead of, people talk online about, oh, my goal is to make 100,000 a year. My goal is to make 1 million. And then you kind of like, you're going in these numbers. But I thought the other day, I was like, what if we don't even think about what we want to achieve in terms of like our lifetimes or like how much money we want to make in a year or in a month, but it's like, what if we're building dynasties? What if we're actually not just building wealth for our lives, but you're building so much wealth and you're protecting that wealth, you're putting structures around that wealth, you're building such amazing businesses that like you can pass that down to your bloodline? Does that make I'm really obsessed with this thought. And as you can tell, I'm still working through it because I used to define my goals in terms of like, I'm building a podcast empire, I'm building an empire. An empire, to think of that is like expansive, which is like wide. I feel like dynasties are more like there's like breadth there because it's multi-generational. So I'm really expanding my horizons to think way bigger and way longer. Like I'm taking that timeline and I'm just blowing the shit out of it instead of saying like I need this much money to retire. I need this much money because I'm expecting to live this long or whatever those, those typical numbers are when you go to a finance person or a financial planner. But I'm thinking dynasties. I'm planning for multiple generational wealth. I think it's so cool to think that way, to think about how what the choices I make, the choices we make, I'm going to include you in this, the choices that we make to affect the next generation, whether it's your children or a child of choice or nieces and nephews or whoever else you want to pass that on to. But it's like, it's really cool. And I think the reason why I like this so much is women are by nature communal. So we like to do things for other people. We like to be in service. And also, we'll do things for others before we do things for ourselves sometimes. So when you go, oh, I'm building a dynasty, you're like, whoa, my children, ooh, my children's children, my children's children's children. And then you're like, wow, that really takes it up a notch. And it makes you look more of the macro level of like, okay, so this is the business I'm building, this is the goal that I want for the next 5 years or for my lifetime. And then you just go, whoa, and you just expand it and you 10x it. And then you go, oh man, like what if that was bigger? What if I was building something for generations to come and protecting it so that you could like help humanity? That's my thought. And this idea of dynasties instead of empires, instead of like lifetime income, it's giving me permission to be bolder. It's giving me the freedom to dream bigger, to dream without limits. And I really like that. Okay, that is where I'll hit the kill switch on this one. I'll catch you on the next episode of Full Time Freedom. Ride safe. Bye.